Barbarian was directed by Zach Kreger and stars Georgina Campbell as Tess, Bill Skarsgård as Keith, who's no stranger to horror, and Justin Long as AJ, who also is no stranger to horror, playing in what I think is an underrated horror film, Jeepers Creepers. And it was really cool to see him back here. And before we dive into it, Barbarian was a blast from start to finish. And the plot's simple. A young woman arrives at her Airbnb late at night, and there's another guy already booked and staying there. Realizing that through two different apps they must have double booked the place, she decides to stay the night anyway. And if that sounds like a bad idea on its own, well, there's a lot to be afraid of in this house. And that's it. That's really the baseline of this plot. Now, I highly recommend not watching any trailers for this film. Not that they were bad. I actually think they didn't give away that much, but I didn't watch the trailers and I was shocked at some of the twists and turns this movie takes. It's almost like with each act, it turns into a different movie. And as I alluded to earlier, this movie was a total blast. It was fun, it was funny, it was horrifying, it was thrilling. It's everything you want, and it really just worked for me. There's a dark seediness to this movie that I really enjoy, and I kind of seek that out in different films, and it can be really hard to find at times. But this film did a fantastic job of it, and really isn't like any film I've ever really seen before. It's not like the writing is so groundbreaking that that's why I've never seen something like that before. I think it's more about the way the scares are presented and the way the storyline and plot ties in with that. It's also met with great performances. Bill Skarsgård freaks me out. He just has the creepiest eyes, and I really felt like he carried this movie, at least in the first act. And it's hard to delve into exactly why, but both him and the writing for his character sort of came together in a really cool way. And Georgina Campbell did a fantastic job as Tess, and Justin Long as AJ was freaking hilarious. It was awesome to see him in a horror role like this again. It's kind of what got me really interested in this movie at first. And he just brought this sense of humor to the movie that I thought it kind of needed at the point when he came into it. And I just felt like the comedy worked so well with the horror and thriller aspect of this movie. And as I said earlier, each act is almost like its own movie. It almost reminded me of a play in that way, where you have an intermission and then you come back and you get the next piece. And that's exactly how I felt here. It felt like the first act ended really strong, and then the second one came in, changed everything, and I thought that was actually the strongest part of the movie. And I do get scared by horror films, I'll admit it. My heart beats fast, my stomach gets into knots. But even though I typically always get scared, I felt like the scares here were really good. They weren't jump scares. There were maybe only one or two false jump scares in this entire film that I can remember, and the rest was just genuinely scary. And that's my favorite type of fear, when you're actually scared of what's gonna happen to the characters, what's gonna come out of this dark, creepy basement, you know, things like that. That's what I want to be afraid of, not who's gonna pop out and what kind of animal is gonna leap out of something and just make me jump. I feel like making you jump and actually being scared are two different things. To just summarize my positives, what I want to get across is that this hit all the beats for me. It was horrifying, it was thrilling, it was funny, and the comedy was ridiculous in the best way possible. The performances were strong, the sound worked for me, I thought it was well directed, and they really did a good job of showing and not telling. There was a ton of things that you kind of had to put together in your head based on clues shown throughout the film that they never said. No character ever sat down and told you exactly what's going on. I think only in the last maybe 15 minutes of the movie, there's a character that sort of ties things up for you so you have a better understanding of what happened. But at the same time, it's so late in the film, you already kind of guessed that. He's just kind of confirming, for me at least, the things that I had already had in my head. But for the whole beginning, middle, and almost to the end of the movie, I felt like they showed and didn't tell, and that's great. Now, this wasn't a perfect film. I do have a few negatives, not a lot, but a few big things. In the beginning of the movie, I could sort of feel certain characters acting, and when I get that feeling, it really pulls me out of the movie. Good acting for me is when I forget that they're acting. And unfortunately, only in the beginning of this movie, the acting was a little bit cringy. Now the thing is, I hesitated to list this as a negative because there's actually a reason in the plot line that this may have been this way. I'm not sure though. I couldn't tell if it was intentional, but I just wanted to put it out there because it could be a negative. I also feel like some of the suspense was artificial, coming from characters making poor decisions or the world around them not really making sense, or convenient things happening to make the plot happen. There are these two cops in the film, and it's like any horror movie, cops are never around, where there's a point where cops actually do come around, these two cops, and the way they respond to what's going on is so ridiculous. And I know it had to be that way for pretty much the whole rest of the movie to happen the way that they wanted it to happen. But to me, it feels artificial then, because now it feels like The only way that the rest of the movie could have happened that way is through plot holes and convenient circumstances. There was also a character decision made right at the end of the movie, and it almost made sense for me, but I thought about it more and it just kind of caught me off guard. Again, this is just a fun film. I highly recommend it. It's just that there is this one decision made that I think you'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. It just strikes me as a little bit odd. It almost seems out of place. But with all that said, this was a super fun time. I highly recommend it. It was entertaining from start to finish. My fiance and I were even saying that we're gonna really hesitate to stay in an Airbnb after watching this movie. No thanks. And I love films like that can really get in your head and make you think about it afterwards. I actually saw it last night, and it's just been in my head constantly, and I've been writing more notes because I just keep processing the movie. It was such a fun ride. I'm also really excited to see what Zach Cregger does going forward. I'd never heard of the guy before, and I mean, if this is his first big film, at least to my knowledge, I tried doing some research, and he has been a part of other things before. He's a writer and a director, but I wouldn't be surprised if this puts him on the map though. This was a really, really good film, and I'm really excited to see what else he does going forward. Anyway, thanks for watching.